First of all, what is constitution? The constitution is a system of laws and principles, or the structure or composition of someone or something. Historically, the word constitution comes from a Latin word meaning an important law or the highest authority of the land. When we look into the Constitution of India, we can generally elaborate the Constitution is a unique one. It is the largest written liberal democratic constitution of the world. It provides for a mixture of federalism and unitarianism, and it expresses a character of flexibility with rigidity. Since its inauguration on 26 January 1950, the Constitution of India has been successfully guiding the path and the progress of India. In general sense, we look into the Constitution of India. It is the supreme law of the land. It is also be discussed. It's a powerful political and legal document. All laws which states the citizens' rights and duties incorporated in this constitution. Fundamental rules governing the conduct of entire activities of the state administration. It establishes the concepts, character and structure of the entire aspects of this constitutional body. When we look into the preamble, in general sense, preamble means it is the introductory part of our constitution, or in other words, it is the preface of our constitution. As a democratic state, India started its constitution with the word "We the people of India." So the entire aspects incorporated in our constitution, we the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure all its citizens. There are four important aspects incorporated again in the preface of our constitution. That is justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. This simply implies the word justice. It ensures the social justice, economic justice and political justice. When we talk about the liberty in our preface of our constitution, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. And then again, if we look into the equality concepts, the constitutional preface says that equality of opportunity and of status and to promote among them all. And the fourth one is fraternity. The fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of our country. So the constitution came into enact in 1949 on 26th day of November. Again, we can just discuss about the salient features of our constitution. Basically, we can mainly divide the two categories of the features of the Indian constitution. One is general features and the other is borrowed features. When we discuss about the salient general features of our constitution, we can just say it is the very lengthiest constitution in the world. Why it become a lengthiest one? It means our constitutions incorporated, there are 448 articles, 25 parts and 12 schedules. It expresses a character through partially rigid and partially flexible. So many provisions are borrowed from the various sources of the national constitutions. It expresses a sovereign, socialist, secular character of the state. Again, it states that it is a democratic republican character. And at the same time, finally, when we look into the general features of our constitution, it is just say it's a quasi-federal structure. Then again, if we look into the borrowed features of the constitution, borrowed features means so many provisions are borrowed from various other countries. There are lot of provisions are borrowed from Great Britain, United States of America, Ireland, Canadian Constitution, Australian Constitution, United Soviet Socialist Russia, and the Constitution of Weimar Constitution of Germany, French Constitution, South African Constitution, and the Japanese Constitution. That's why we can broadly say the Constitution of India is a borrowed constitution. And after that, when we just analyzing and examining the major features borrowed from the Great Britain, there are so many provisions are borrowed from Great Britain. The first one is doctrine of rule of law. What is actually rule of law? According to Professor Daisy, for achieving the supremacy of law, there are the principles of postulates must be followed. There are three important aspects are incorporated in the rule of law. The first one is the supremacy of law. The second one is equality before law. And the third one is the predominance of legal spirit. In other words, we can say this as there is no discrimination in the eyes of law of any of the citizens in our territorial sovereign area. And the second one is the bicameral form of legislature. When we look into the bicameral form of legislature, we can simply say a bicameral legislature has divided into two segments. The one is the upper chamber and the other is the lower chamber. In Indian scenario, the upper chamber is Rajya Sabha and the lower chamber is Lok Sabha. And the third one is parliamentary democracy. In Indian situation, India has a parliamentary system of government. And the constitutional articles 74 and 75 deals with the parliamentary system at the center, and at the same time the same constitution elaborate article 163 and 164 which deals with the state's administration. And the next one is cabinet form of government. Before we discuss about the cabinet form of government, we can just mention about the real executive and nominal executive. In a parliamentary democratic form, there are two kinds of executive in the broader sense. The one is real executive and the other is nominal executive. In Indian parliamentary democracy, the Prime Minister and his cabinet and his council of ministers is generally considered as the real executive. That means all the executive powers are exercised or handled by this executive. Or in the other is the nominal executive. The nominal executive means it is the nominated head of the state. And this nominated head is known as the President of India in Indian scenario. And there is a collective responsibility is the integral part of our parliamentary system. So when we look into the cabinet form of government, cabinet is the innermost circle of the Indian parliament. The cabinet is the supreme directing authority, the magnet of public policy, which coordinate and control the whole of the executive government of the union. And again, we just look into the single citizenship concepts, and such concepts are also borrowed from Great Britain. The Constitution of India provides for a single and uniform citizenship to every individual in the country. There is no concept of state citizenship. No states in India can discriminate any citizens on the basis of his place of birth or residence. And finally, the very, very important feature is also borrowed from the Great Britain. That is lawmaking procedure. And the lawmaking procedure is one of the very, very important feature of our constitution. It has the different kinds of stages. There are 7 stages are mainly discussed in this area. The first stage, that is also known as the first reading of a bill. And the second stage, there is the publication of the bill in the government gazette. And the stage 3 which discuss about the reference to the standing committee of that bill. And stage 4, it is the second reading. And stage 5, this is the third reading. And stage 6, the bill is sent to the other house of the Indian Parliament. And the final stage is the President assent to the bill. So in here, There are two important aspects we can just mention. The one is committee stage and the other is reporting stage. So you have to keep in your mind the three important aspects. The first one is the first reading, then second reading and third reading. And there are two important technical terms which incorporated here. The first is committee stage and the other is reporting stage. And some other provisions are incorporated in this area. And then we can just look into the American Constitution. So many provisions are borrowed from the American Constitution. And the first one is the fundamental rights, the preamble of the Constitution, independence of judiciary, judicial review, the separation of powers, checks and balances, and the final is in the impeachment of the president. When we look into the preamble of the Constitution, we were already discussed about such kind of things in our Constitution. As the largest democracy in the world, both the US Constitution and the Constitution of India, which started with the words and usages with the people of India. And the next one is the fundamental rights. Part 3 of the Constitution of India, which discuss about 6 kind of fundamental rights. It is started from Article 12 to 35. From Article 12 and 13, which are mainly discuss about the definitions, and Article 13, which discuss about the law inconsistent with or the derogation of the fundamental rights. And again we look into the article from the Article 14 to 18, which discuss about the different kinds of right to equality. That means equality before law, prohibition of the discrimination on the grounds of the religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, equality of opportunity in matters of public employment, and then again Article 17 we can look into the abolition of untouchability, and finally Article 18 the abolition of all sort of titles. And then again we can look into the right to freedom of religion, right to freedom of right the different kinds of freedoms of the Indian citizens. The first one is the protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech and expression. Article 20, which discuss about protection in respects of conviction for offenses. Article 21, it is the very, very important article in our Constitution. It guarantees the protection of life and personal liberty. And one of the subsections are incorporated in our constitutional fundamental rights, that is Article 21A. That is discuss about the right to education. And again Article 22, which discuss about the protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. And Article 23 and 24, which discuss about right against exploitation. Article 25 to 28, which are mainly discuss about the different kinds of right to freedom of religion. Article 29 and 30, which discuss about cultural and educational rights. And Article 31, now it's become a legal right. Formerly, it was a fundamental right, but now it's become a legal right. And again, Article 32 of the Constitution of India, which discuss about right to constitutional remedies. There are 5 writs are mainly incorporated in the right to constitutional remedies in the Constitution of India. And such writs are, the first one is habeas corpus, the second one is mandamus, and the third one is prohibition, the fourth one is certiorari, and the fifth one is mandamus. When we look into the next option, the independence of judiciary. What is actually independence in the case of judicial system? In simply says, judiciary must be keep away from the other organs of the government. The judiciary must keep away from the legislature and executive in their day-to-day decisions and actions. The Constitution of India makes the judiciary truly independent because the judges are appointed by the president. The next is only person with high legal qualification and quality and experiences are appointed as judges. Then again, The judges of Supreme Court cannot be removed from his office through a process of impeachment. And the next one is the salaries, allowances, and all other kinds of remunerative activities of the judges are very, very high. The Supreme Court has its own staff. The judiciary has an autonomous organization and status. And then again, judicial review. Judicial review simply means judiciary have the power to examine the validity of the passing laws of the legislature. If it is ultra vires or if it is unconstitutionally, the court or judiciary have the power to cancel such kind of laws passed by legislature or executive. And then again, if we look into the Irish Constitution, there are three important aspects are borrowed from the Irish Constitution. The first one is directive principles of state policy. Part 4 of the Constitution of India, from Article 36 to 51, which discuss about the welfare measures of the state. And the directive principles of state policy is mainly discuss about how to ensure the welfare measures of the entire state and society in our territorial limit. DPSP is also known as the instrument of instructions. Or in other words, the DPSP is also known as the administrative code of the entire activities or the public policy activities of our states. And some other important things are also incorporated in this area: the nomination of members of Rajya Sabha and the method of election of president. And then again, we have to look into the Canadian Constitution. We can just find out there are 4 important matters. The first one is federation with a strong center. The second one is vesting of residuary powers in the center. The third one is the appointment of state governors by the center. And the fourth one is the advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India. And here is the very, very important one is the federation with a strong center. That means the Constitution of India provides for a division of powers between the union and states. All the major powers or all the strategic or crucial powers are vested in the hands of central government. And some of the unimportant powers are handed over to the state units. There are 3 kinds of list in Indian Constitution. The first one is union list, the second one is state list, and the third one is concurrent list. The union list incorporated into 99 subjects. The states list incorporated its 66 subjects, and the concurrent list, which means it is the joint list of both the center and the state. The concurrent list is consisting of 47 subjects. And then again, we have to just discuss about some of the important provisions borrowed from the Australian Constitution. There are 3 important aspects are borrowed from Australian Constitution. The first one is concurrent list. The second one is the concept of freedom of trade. And the final one is joint sitting of 2 houses of the Indian Parliament. Then we have to just look into the USSR. And now the USSR is the present day Russia. But now we can discuss some of the important constitutional provisions from the former Soviet Union constitutions. There are 3 important things are borrowed from the former Soviet Union constitution. The first one is fundamental duties. The 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976 incorporated the fundamental duties under Article 51A in Part 4A upon the recommendations of Swaraj Singh Committee. These duties are applicable to citizens only. There is a moral obligation on the citizens to perform these duties. However, these duties cannot be judicially enforced. There are 11 fundamental duties incorporated in our Constitution. The first one is respect for the Constitution, the national flag, and national anthem. The second one is to cherish the noble ideals of the freedom struggle. And the third one is to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. And the fourth one is to defend the country and render the national service when the nation called. And the fifth one is to promote the common brotherhood of all the people of India and renounce any practice derogatory to the dignity of woman. And the sixth one is to preserve the rich heritage of nation's composite culture. The seventh one is to protect the natural environment and have the compassion for living creatures. Eighth one is to develop scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. The ninth one is to safeguard the public property and abjure the violence. The 10th one is to strive the excellence in all individuals and collective activity. And the final one is to duty of parents to send their children to schools for getting education. We were already discussed the ideal justice of the Constitution of India, and some other provisions were already discussed in USSR Constitution. Now we can just discuss about the German Constitution. One of the very important thing was borrowed from the Weimar Constitution of Germany, that is fundamental rights suspension during the period of emergency. Part 18 of our Constitution contains the emergency provisions. There are three types of emergencies guaranteed in the Constitution of India. The first one is national emergency. According to Article 352 of the Constitution of India, which discuss about the emergency provisions in the national level. And the second one is state emergency. Article 356 of the Constitution of India is mainly discuss about state emergency. And the final one is the financial emergency. Article 360 of the Constitution of India, which discuss about financial emergency. And when we look into the French Constitution, we can just find out some of the very crucial and very important aspects from the French Constitution. There are four important things incorporated in the spirit in our constitutional preface incorporated. The first one is the ideal of republic in the preamble. The second one is the ideal of liberty in the preamble. And the third one is the ideal of equality in the preamble. And the last one is the ideals of fraternity in the preamble. All these four things are the very important things in connection with the strengthening of parliamentary democracy and the people's power in our day-to-day life of our country. And then again, if we look into the South African Constitution, there are two important aspects are borrowed from South African Constitution. The first one is the procedure for amendment of the Constitution. And the second one is the election of the members of Rajya Sabha. Article 368 of Part 20 of the Constitution of India provides two types of amendments. By a special majority of the Parliament, we can make an amendment. And the second one is by a special majority of Parliament with the ratification by half of the total states. There are three ways in which the Constitution can be amended. The first one is amendment by simple majority of the Parliament. And the second one is the amendment by special majority of the Parliament. And the third one is amendment by special majority of the Parliament and the ratification of at least half of the state legislatures. There are 238 members are elected from the various states into the Rajya Sabha, and 12 members are nominated by the President of India into Rajya Sabha. And this nomination process is selected from South African Constitution. And finally, we have to just look into the Japanese Constitution. And here is, we can discuss the concept of procedure established by law. Procedure established by law means A law that is duly enacted by the legislatures or the concerned body is valid if it has followed the correct procedure. The procedure must be kept in every activities of judicial and administrative matters. That is basically known as the procedure established by law. Then again, we have to just look into the historical background of the emergence of the Constitution of India. In such a sense, we look into the Government of India Act 1935. There are 6 provisions incorporated from the Government of India Act 1935. The first one is the federal scheme, and the second one is office of the governor, and the third one is judiciary. The fourth one is public service commission. Fifth one is emergency provisions, and the last one is administrative details. All the above mentioned 6 things are very, very important aspects incorporated from the historical background of our constitutional things. At the same time, we have to just mix such kind of provisions with the borrowing features. And finally, we introduced our very great constitution in front of the entire people of our country. Then again, we have to just look into the criticisms. Some of the general criticisms are just include here. The first one is Indian constitution is a borrowed constitution. That means it's a carbon copy. So many provisions are borrowed from the various other constitution. So we have these provisions incorporated in our constitution. In other words, we can call this as a borrowed one. The second one is it is the true copy of Government of India Act 1935. We were already discussed about such kind of things in the previous slides. And the next one is non-novelty or originality. Why we can say like this? Because so many provisions are borrowed from some other constitutions. And the next one is the Constitution of India is an elephant size. The vast majority of the illiterate people who are living in the Indian territorial area, at the same time, the constitutional capacity is very, very lengthy. So the ordinary man or the countryman of this state cannot easily accessible to find out how to make the different kinds of solutions of their day-to-day life. And the next one is not apt for the Indian status quo. So there is a wide gap in between the theory and practice both in society and the constitutional clauses. And the next one is the legal language and very, very complex phrases. So in Indian scenario, right to education is a major question in front of the vast majority of the people in our country. So this very complicated legal language or very complicated constitutional language is a major question in front of the vast majority of illiterate people who are living in the Indian society. And at the same time, some of the very, very complicated legal phrases are always creating so many obstacles in the day-to-day life of the ordinary people of this country. And the next one is the large number of amendments. And the final one is the lack of competency and ineffective in today's fast-moving world. Now, the globe is a globalizing world or globalizing village. In this fast-moving globalizing world, we have to prepare or we have to just forward it such kind of simple and humble constitutional things. But unfortunately, this kind of problems are faced by the ordinary people who are living in the state and society. And finally, we can conclude that the Constitution of India is a best suited to the Indian environment, whatever may be. The Constitution has been helping India to organize and run her government and administration in an effective way, both in times of peace and war. Thanking you. Let's break the chain. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.